If you're a casual NFL fan, you'd probably hear that every year compensatory picks have been awarded to NFL teams, and you probably view that as nothing more than an afterthought, and I don't blame you. Introduced in 1994, compensatory picks, or comp picks, which is how I will be referring to them, for the most part are nothing too significant. Comp picks are typically granted to a team that loses a player in free agency, or a coach or coordinator to another team. The team that acquires the player or coach is not obligated to supply the picks themselves. They are just granted to a team anywhere from the end of the 3rd round to the 7th round. That is why, in the later rounds of the draft, they are longer than the beginning rounds, and why the total number of draft picks is never consistent. But has anyone significant been taken with these comp picks? For the most part, the compensation isn't really worth the loss, but yes, in the past 30 years, there have been several players that have had solid to even Hall of Fame careers taken with these picks. Today, that is exactly who I'm going to be talking about, and I have grouped these players into different categories as these players are notable for different reasons. So without any more hesitation, let's see who are the best comp picks in NFL history. We are going to be starting with players that are active in the league right now. We have 5 players that are notable to mention. I'm going to start with Justin Simmons. Of course, drafted by the Denver Broncos, Justin Simmons is a 4-time second-team All-Pro safety, a 2-time Pro Bowler, and an interception leader. He has been one of the best players at his position for quite some time. He's obviously near the end of his career, currently not even on a team. He didn't have the best season with Atlanta, but all in all, very worth the late-round selection by the Broncos. Next, we will talk about Aaron Jones, who of course was drafted by the Packers. He has 1 Pro Bowl to his name, and over 9,500 scrimmage yards and 70 total touchdowns in his career. Very solid for a running back, and I'd say the Packers got that great value out of him, and now that he is doing his job for the Vikings. Puka Nacua is a notable one. He's on a Hall of Fame-like trajectory. Of course, was an Offensive Rookie of the Year finalist in his rookie season, had the rookie receiving record, and a second-team All-Pro as well in that season, and has nearly 2,500 receiving yards in his first 2 seasons, with some games lost. So, yeah, of course, the Rams just had to get another steal in the draft. Woohoo! Now, we're going to talk about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is a man that gets a lot of hate, and is often called overrated, yada yada. But for him being taken in the 4th round, he has been very, very worth it for the Cowboys. He was an Offensive Rookie of the Year, with the highest passer rating by a rookie quarterback of all time, and tied for the most wins in the regular season as a rookie quarterback ever. And since then, 3-time Pro Bowler, a second-team All-Pro to his name, and was second in MVP voting 2 years ago, and even has a Walter Payton Man of the Year to his name, which I know isn't really directly related to the sport itself, but it shows that he's a man that deserves the success he's gotten. And he's been through some ups and downs in his career. Probably not a Hall of Famer, unless, he really starts to get some major playoff success and some rings with the Cowboys, but, he's the highest paid player annually for a year as well, ever. Dak Prescott. Pretty darn good pick for the Cowboys. But the cream of the crop of the active players, the crown jewel, for me, is Kyle Juszczyk, who, in my opinion, is going to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt. This fullback for the Ravens and 49ers has 9 Pro Bowls and is a 2-time All-Pro, and has proven to be one of the most versatile fullbacks ever. And, he's still going, so probably got a couple of good years left in him. Of course, still on the 49ers, a system that uses him quite well, and I would say that he has been worth the pick. Now, we are going to go with 3 players that have been notable for performances in the big game. This guy doesn't kind of really count, but Ahmad Bradshaw is the first guy I want to talk about. 2-time Super Bowl champion running back for the Giants, and on those 2 runs, he did his part, and you got to think that he was worth the pick for the Giants. But now we're going to talk about a different giant, the man who made arguably the best catch of all time, David Tyree. Now, interestingly enough, he did not win Super Bowl MVP in that Super Bowl. Of course, that went to Eli Manning. But David Tyree, of course, the helmet catch that helped slay the undefeated Patriots, that man was taken with a comp pick. Very worth it for the Giants. And a man that will live in infamy in Patriots fans' minds forever. Finally, we have Malcolm Smith, who won Super Bowl MVP for the Seahawks in Super Bowl 48. Now, in terms of Super Bowl MVP performances, there was a bunch of different guys the award could have went to in that Super Bowl, but of course he had a defensive touchdown, and that really pretty much turned the game on its head. And, he didn't really do too much outside of that Super Bowl season. He bounced around the league, going to teams like the Raiders and the Browns, but he's gotten the Seahawks' only Super Bowl MVP, and yeah, he definitely deserves to be mentioned in a list talking about these players. Now, I was hesitant to include this man on the list, but he's got his own category, which I'm going to call a different kind of legacy, because we got to talk about Pat Tillman. In his NFL career, he didn't win any major awards, but he was a fine player, and he only played 3 years because, of course, as we all know, he went to serve in Iraq and Afghanistan, where unfortunately he did not make it back. And he is just a mark of honor in the NFL world, a inspiration to many. Had his number retired by the Cardinals, which rightfully so, and Pat Tillman, there's plenty of awards and memorabilia named after him in his name, and very much deserving. And I would feel almost guilty not including him on this list because he does fit the criteria, and he's arguably had one of the biggest impacts on the game out of all these players. So thank you for your service, Pat Tillman. Rest in peace. Now we're going to go over 4 players that are not going to be in the Hall of Fame, but were definitely in the Hall of Very Good. We'll start with Antoine Bethea, who is a 3-time Pro Bowler and a Super Bowl champion for the Indianapolis Colts. Solid career for a safety. Definitely not Hall of Fame, but he had a nice long career, had some success team-wise and individually, and being a comp pick, can't really ask for much more. Solid career. Now we're going to talk about current Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel, who with the Patriots as a player won 3 Super Bowls and had a first-team All-Pro and Pro Bowl season to his name in 2007, and he was, very, very good that season, and notable enough. I mean, first-team All-Pro is a very, very hard thing to achieve in this league, and definitely solid career, but definitely not Hall of Fame worthy, but definitely a pick the Patriots do not regret taking. We're going to talk about Matt Hasselbeck next, who is a 3-time Pro Bowl quarterback and took the Seahawks to their first Super Bowl appearance in their history and lost a rather rigged game, which, of course, had he gotten them the Super Bowl, would have vastly changed his legacy. But still, solid career. Didn't really do a lot after he left the Seahawks, but he definitely put that organization on the map, and they've seen plenty of success since he has left. And finally, in this category, I want to talk about who I think is one of the most underrated players I have ever seen, and that is Marcus Colston from the Saints, who, of course, is a Super Bowl champion. He made the All-Rookie team in his rookie season, and had nearly 10,000 receiving yards, topping 9,759 total yards, and 72 touchdowns. He was a 7th-round pick. Yeah. Pretty good value for the Saints, I must say. And, he never was a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro, but the man was playing in an era that had guys like Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, Antonio Brown. Like, it was hard to be noticed on the biggest level, but he did enough. and did what he had to do, got his ring, and for a 7th round pick, quite the great career. Now we got 2 players who are kind of borderline Hall of Fame. And the first one we're going to start with is Leroy Glover. Now, Leroy Glover has 1 first-team All-Pro and 3 second-team All-Pros. He's a 6-time Pro Bowler. He led the NFL in sacks once from the interior, and was on the 2000s All-Decade team, which is quite the honor to be recognized as one of the best players for an entire decade. Now, of course, not in the Hall of Fame yet. I think he's got a pretty decent chance to get in, but he might have to wait quite a bit of time, because especially with all the guys that are going to be coming in on the defensive side soon, you got to think it's kind of now or never for him. And the other is Hines Ward, who is a Super Bowl MVP, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, 4-time Pro Bowler, 3-time second-team All-Pro, and has the Steelers record all-time for receiving yards with 12,083 yards on exactly 1,000 catches. Now that sounds like a pretty solid career, and it is. Hall of Fame? Well, that's been kind of a hot topic among NFL fans. There's definitely some receivers that are not in the Hall of Fame yet that will definitely get in over Hines Ward first. And if guys like Julio Jones now retiring, it's gonna be tight to see if Hines Ward can get in, because you can't really be like, oh, yeah, he doesn't deserve it. Because he definitely has quite the solid resume. He wasn't like ever a super dominant player, but he did what he had to do. And for the Steelers, he is a legend for that storied franchise. Finally, we have the 3 players that are Hall of Famers taken with these picks. We are going to start with Brian Dawkins, Weapon X. Whew! Man, was this guy so good for the game. One of the hardest hitting safeties of all time. 5-time All-Pro, 4 of them first team, 9-time Pro Bowler, made the 2000s All-Decade team along with Leroy Glover. And for the Eagles, they acquired the pick for losing Pro Bowl linebacker Seth Joyner to the Cardinals. And, obviously losing a Pro Bowl linebacker sucks, but when you get a Hall of Fame safety, you can't really complain. And Brian Dawkins is still one of the most famous players on the defensive side to ever play the game. A lot of people's favorite safeties, because how can you not like his game? He was a monster, and he is our first Hall of Famer on this list. Now we are going to talk about who, in my mind, is the biggest athletic freak in NFL history, Larry Allen. So, Larry Allen was 6'3", which for a lineman is a little bit on the short side, not terribly, but 335 pounds. And this man benched 700 pounds. He had an estimated 18-mile-per-hour chase down, which in 40 time would equivalent to about a 4.52 at 335 pounds. He is also arguably the most dominant run blocker of all time. He is a Super Bowl champion, 7-time All-Pro, 6 of them being first team, 11-time Pro Bowler, and made 2 All-Decade teams for the 1990s and 2000s. One of the best offensive linemen of all time, and Larry Allen is a bit of an interesting case, because in 1994 and 1994 only, comp picks could be second-round picks. And Larry Allen might just have been the first comp pick ever taken. There's not much information out there about how the Cowboys acquired this pick. It is just common knowledge that he was a comp pick, and he is widely known to be the first comp pick player to be named to the Hall of Fame. But my goodness, I know he was a second-round pick, but he fits the criteria of this list, and my goodness, was this man a monster. But there is one man better. If I told you the greatest football player of all time, Tom Brady, was a comp pick, would you believe me? Well, He is. Everyone knows that Tom Brady was taken at pick 199, and every team passed up on him multiple times. But how exactly did the Patriots get this guy? What did they lose? Well, they lost a man named Tom Tupa, a punter, to the Jets. Not only did the Jets injure Drew Bledsoe, which allowed Tom Brady to start his NFL career, they just had to steal the Patriots punter, which allowed the Patriots to get the extra pick that they used to draft Tom Brady. Jets fans, you had this coming. That's two different instances where you are responsible for Tom Brady's dominance. You really gonna make me read all of Tom Brady's accolades? Do I really have to? Alright. Let's speedrun this. 7-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time Super Bowl MVP, 3-time NFL MVP, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, 3-time First Team All-Pro, 3-time Second Team All-Pro, 2000s and 2010s All-Decade Team, NFL Comeback Player of the Year, 15-time Pro Bowler, 5-time Passing Touchdown Leader, 4-time Passing Yards Leader, 2 times Passer Rating Leader, NFL 100 All-Time Team, most QB wins in NFL history, passing yards ever, passing touchdowns ever, QB playoff wins ever, playoff passing yards ever, playoff passing touchdowns ever, single regular season QB wins ever, and most importantly of all, is in the back of every Tub Frog video, and will be in the Hall of Fame in 3 years. Of course. He's technically not in the Hall of Fame yet, but obviously the man's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and is the greatest player this game has ever seen. And got to that position because the Jets signed a punter. Granted, the punter was coming off All-Pro season, but that does not make this case any better for Jets fans. He's a goddamn punter. And yes, punters matter, but a punter. Anyways, those are the best players taken with comp picks in NFL history, ranging from solid players to the greatest player of all time. Will we ever see a draft deal as big as Tom Brady ever again? I doubt it, but you know, anything's possible. Thank you so much for watching, and you know, NFL season's around the corner, so want to start pumping out some more of these videos. If you like the videos, please let me know. It motivates me to make more. And I know I have a shitty mic, but hey, if you made it all the way through, I love you. Alright, see you next time.